guys, welcome back. Hope everybody's doing well. Another beautiful day today and another super important video, because today we will look at key metrics in Google Ads and key metrics for your store in general, how to look at it in a super simple way, how to analyze it, knowing on which metrics to focus on, how to improve step by step based on those metrics. And it's actually really simple. A lot of people overcomplicate it a lot. They look at impressions, impression share, clicks, costs, click-through rate, basically everything you have out there, CPM, and they're like, yeah, that's a good CPM, right? But they don't really know how to use the data or how to interpret it. Because if I tell you now, okay, you have a CPM of, I don't know, like 5 euros or 10 euros, like it doesn't even tell you much, you know? You might Google it and you see, okay, like this might be the average here, this might be the average here, but how do you interpret it, you know? How do you use it? How do you improve based on that? So we will look at it today for your specific case as dropshippers on Google Ads, and how to scale and grow your store in a data-driven way, in a super simple way as well. You know, I started out like that as well. When I started out as a media buyer in marketing, I checked everything and I overcomplicated things quite a lot. But in the end, it's really super simple, and it comes down to just 3 metrics you should look at that are important, that define your ROAS in the end and the profits you make, right? And it's really actually like 3 metrics. 3 metrics that are super important. And of course you can break it down further, but those 3 will actually define your results basically. So let's look at them. First is the CPC for Google Ads, or the cost of traffic. You know, you could also like say CPM for Facebook, for example. CPM is more common, but in the end, cost of traffic, CPC. Then we have the AOV, and last but not least, of course, the conversion rate. So CPC, cost of traffic, AOV means average order value. So how much does each and every customer that buys on your store spends on your store? Average cart value, you know, like could be 30 bucks, 50 bucks, 60 bucks, whatever is the average order value. Pretty self-explanatory. And then we have conversion rate, which means how many visitors, people that are actually visiting your stores, are actually converting. So let's say you have a conversion rate of 1%, means from 100 website visitors, 1 will buy, right? 1% conversion rate. 2% means from 100 visitors, 2 will buy. Also super simple, just wanted to explain it just in case if some things are not super clear. So we have those 3 metrics now, CPC, AOV and conversion rate. And the important thing for you to understand is the interplay of those 3 metrics. The interplay like CPC, AOV and conversion rate defines your ROAS and how much profits you will make in the end, right? Just those 3 metrics. If you really keep it simple, those 3 metrics will define your ROAS. Why? Okay, let's say you pay 70 cents, or like, let's keep it super simple, €1 right? And you have a certain AOV and a certain conversion rate. That will define your ROAS. Let's say CPC suddenly, okay, let's say AOV stays the same, conversion rate stays the same, and CPC increases. Your ROAS will go down, right? Let's say CPC stays the same, conversion rate stays the same, and AOV increases, which means you have a better offer, you're cross-selling, you're upselling. ROAS will also increase, right? And let's say you also optimize the store and suddenly you have a better conversion rate, even better for the ROAS, right? So it's really super simple. Let's say you scale up and CPC increases while those 2 stay the same again. ROAS will decrease a little bit. So it's super simple actually. You have the cost of traffic, you have the traffic on your site, you have the conversion rate done, how many are actually converting, and how much do they spend with each and every single order. And that will define the ROAS, that will define your return, that will define your profits. And it's super simple, there's not more to it. And that's how you look at the data in a super simple way. That's where you start, and then you can always go deeper. Then you can analyze, okay, why do I have a low AOV, for example? Why do I have a low conversion rate? Which out of those 3 can I improve the most? And that's also a super important factor. Let's clean that up a bit first. Because one thing you have to understand, usually CPC you cannot influence that much. Of course, there are bid strategies where you can set a certain CPC, but usually we don't do that. We have an AI-driven approach here, and in the end, you have to pay the market price, right? You have supply, you have demand, and that is one of the main factors of your CPC. Of course, there's the quality of your ads, which you can always improve, but in the end, you have to pay the market price, right? Don't overcomplicate it. You have to pay the price. There's no way around it, and that's kind of fixed. That goes in waves. For example, around Black Friday, obviously CPC will increase because there's a lot of competition, a lot of supply. Demand also increases, of course, but in the end, it just comes down to that. You have to pay the price, right? And what you should focus on primarily, 100%, is AOV and conversion rate, because that's 100% in your control, right? You can make a better offer, you can increase, you can upsell, you can cross-sell, make sure you have a higher AOV, and you can constantly tweak and improve your store, provide a better offer again, which also increases the conversion rates. Maybe you can do something with your payment methods, provide the right payment methods, so you have a good conversion rate as well. That's what you can focus on, right? Those two, they are in our control. Perfect. And now you might be asking, all right, Chris, but what's actually a good AOV? What's a good conversion rate? Like, what should you aim for? Again, in the end, it's an interplay of those three. Let's say your AOV might not be the best, say it might not be the best. Let's say your conversion rate also sucks a little bit, but CPC is dirt cheap. And I do have stores like that, I have clients like that. They don't have a great AOV. They have a conversion rate that makes me cry, literally. But the CPC is so cheap, we pay like, I don't know, 7 cents, sometimes. And if you do the math, then like you can buy a lot of traffic that way. And even if the conversion rate is not the best, you might still get decent ROAS after all. So just keep that in mind. It's always an interplay of those three. But in the end, what AOV are we looking for? What conversion rate are we looking for? Because again, that's in your control, right? You can optimize that. For AOV, generally speaking, for most Ecom stores, and again, it depends on your niche and everything, but we aim for an AOV of at least 50 euros. Because what I've noticed, and that's applicable to most niches, when you have a very low AOV, let's say like 30 euros, it's very hard to scale. Because even if the conversion rate is good, the CPC is usually too expensive to scale with an AOV of 30 euros. Because you buy the traffic, maybe it even converts, but you don't get much money per order. That makes it hard to scale, right? The ROAS isn't that great, the profits aren't that great. But with an AOV of 50 euros, at least 50 euros, you have much more options. For example, I looked at one of my stores yesterday. We had a really great day. And it's a relatively new store, right? So we don't make a lot of money there yet. One thing stood out for me. We had 11 orders. Conversion rate was okay, but it was a good day. We had 11 orders, but over 1K in revenue. Over 1K in revenue. And if you do the math already, you will see, okay, we had actually a really good AOV. It was over 100 euros. So people bought a lot of items, people bought high-priced items, the profit margins were great. Despite the relatively low conversion rate, we had a really great day because the AOV was insane. So again, that also shows it's always an interplay of those three. But just keep in mind, 50 euros, that's what you should aim for. That's what you can set as a milestone, If it's higher, great, but that's what you should have at least. And conversion rate also depends on the market, again, like what payment methods you have and everything. But in my opinion, a really good scalable conversion rate, not really good, but the minimum you should have is at least 2%. That's what in most cases you would need for decent scaling opportunity, because with conversion rates that are too low or even lower, and you have a high CPC, that makes it hard to scale, even if the AOV is great, for example, and traffic doesn't convert, should you get a great return, right? There are some exceptions, of course. Again, if you have a market like that, for example, where the CPC is dirt cheap. In this store that I mentioned earlier, we don't have a high conversion rate. It's below 1%, but it's still scalable because CPC is that cheap. Again, it's always an interplay of those metrics, but keep that in mind. 2% is what you should aim for. When you build a decent store, you have the payment methods and everything. And if you have that, 50 euros at least, 2% at least, there's almost no way you will fail. Unless CPC is crazy high, but then you have to check like why do we pay so much? Like what's the reason? Is actually the market that's saturated? Am I in the wrong market? Then you can look at that, because with 50 euros AOV and 2% conversion rate at least, you should get a decent ROAS already. All right, so keep that in mind, make a screenshot of that, hang it over your bed or something, because like that's one of the typical rookie mistakes I always see. Like they are all over the place with the metrics, they check everything but nothing at the same time, because it's a lot of things you can check, right? So it gets complicated, but if you really break it down in a simple way, that's it. That's super simple. And then you can focus, then you can focus on how can I increase AOV? How can I increase conversion rate? And then that then you have a clear action plan and it's not guesswork anymore. So keep that in mind. I want to show you a couple of things more. First of all, where you can check that in Shopify. I think that's pretty clear for most of you guys. Go to Shopify, go to analytics, and there you see average order value really nicely. There you see the conversion rate breakdown. And I also like to check when I have 300 sessions, what's the bounce off rate? Like how many add to carts do I have? How many checkouts do I have? And how many people actually buy? I don't want to get too much into that now. Like what's a typical bounce off rate? You can check that, you can research that online. That would be a bit too much for that video. But that's also interesting to see, because when you get a lot of add to carts, but not that many purchases, that's also a sign for you to optimize the checkout process, or like, why do I get so many add to carts but they don't buy? That's something worth looking into. That's one of my favorite things to look at in Shopify. To be honest, it's not 100% accurate all the time. Like the data is super messed up here sometimes. But in principle, I like to look at that. I like to see, how many add to carts do I have? Do I get checkouts? Why do I don't get purchases? And usually that's in tune anyway. And if you have a proper store, that makes sense anyway. But it's always nice to check it out and see if you can improve anything here. The other thing, of course, the average order value. Can you improve that? Is it at least above 50 euros, what we said? You don't see any data here now, obviously, because we are not really live with the ads yet. So that's the new store. And yeah, that's it. Like those three: CPC, cost of traffic, AOV, and conversion rate, and you are set. But I also want to show you in Google Ads some things what you can look at. Also super simple. Of course, we have the CPC there and some other metrics, because there's so much you can actually look at and it gets confusing with time. And then people always ask me again, like, why do I have different conversion rate here than in Shopify? Again, super important. Don't forget that, because you never track 100% of the data in the Google Ads account. The same with the ROAS, the same with the conversion value and things like that. So keep that in mind. But yeah, if you check the ads, then keep some things in mind. So first of all, you will always have a conversion lag in the Google Ads account to a certain degree. So never look at today's data in the Google Ads account. If I check the ads, for example, I want to see how it's performing, I would set it to something like that, for example. I would not include today. And even yesterday, I would probably not have all the data in the account yet, because it depends on the account, but you have to consider a certain conversion lag. All right, but what do we look at in the account? Obviously, also super simple for you guys. Keep it simple. First of all, like, what do we spend? What purchases do we get? What's the CPC on a longer time frame? I don't look at the daily CPC. That doesn't make any sense. And again, you cannot really control it. You have to pay the market price. Sales, cost, and then conversion value divided by cost is the ROAS. I like to use a custom metric for that, which I made for the agency, so you don't have that in your account, but you can do that as well. For the actual revenue, I like to use conversion value per time, and here's the definition. Please check it out. Conversion value by conversion time shows your conversion value based on the day each conversion occurred. Note that the standard conversion value column data is based on the time clicks occurred. So the attribution is different here, and it's a bit messy sometimes, and that's why the conversion value by conversion time data is a bit more accurate, because it actually shows you the conversion value based on the day each conversion occurred. All right? Because that's why the data is so different sometimes in Shopify, in analytics, in the Google Ads, because of the attribution and everything. But that column is a bit more accurate, and also takes the conversion lag a bit out of the equation, because like it actually tracks the conversion based on the day each conversion occurred, right? And based on that, I created this ROAS per time metric, which is basically the same like here, conversion value divided by cost, but with the conversion value per time column with that metric. So the ROAS is also a bit more accurate in that case. And you can do that yourself. You just go to columns, custom, or modify columns, and then you can create your custom columns here like I did. And there you can see it. Basically conversion value by conversion time divided by cost, and then you get the ROAS per time. And then you see also better data in the ad account, you know. But in the end, again, if you want to see the real data, you have to go to the Shopify backend, and then you will see, okay, how much revenue did I actually generate today, you know? But yeah, for me as a media buyer, of course, I spent a lot of time in the ad account as well. And that's basically it. Also super simple. We look at the purchases, we look at what we spent, we look at the ROAS, and that's the main thing for you, right? We will not go into things like interaction rate, click-through rate, even impressions, clicks. Forget all of that. Like the main thing for you is what I just showed you today. So again, even in the ad account, you see, we focus on the simple things. We focus on purchases, we focus on the CPC on a longer time frame, but again, you cannot really control it. You pay the market price here. We see how much we spend. We focus on the ROAS per time metric in the end, and that's it. Super simple. We don't look at interaction rate. We don't look at impressions, clicks in the end, click-through rate even. Doesn't matter that much. Focus on the simple things. Keep the 3 key metrics in mind that I told you for your store overall: CPC, AOV, and conversion rate, and that's it. You focus on that, you focus on what you can control, you focus on the main things, and then you will scale and grow your store eventually. It's just a matter of time, step by step, daily improvements, and that's it. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.